Finally, time for our Crime Time segment. Let's introduce tonight's guests. With us, former police officer Mark Harold. Mark has been in law enforcement for 18 years. He was a member of the Atlanta Police Department's Tactical and Drug Interdiction Unit, known as Red Dog, and he's the author of the upcoming book, Blue Exile. Also with us, retired Los Angeles Police Department Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey. Sergeant Dorsey started with the LAPD in 1980. She worked in patrol and specialized units, including gangs, and she's the author of Black and Blue, The Creation of a Social Advocate. Sergeant Dorsey and Mark Harold, great to have you both with us. First story tonight comes to us from KMGH in Denver. Ketamine use in apprehending suspects.
And he kept insisting, give me a cigarette, give me a cigarette. And when he didn't, he swung first.
And then, a heated interaction with police.
Hey, get back! Get down on the ground now! 221 1 at gunpoint. Get down, all the way on the ground! Don't you move!
I won't, sir.
But it's what happens several minutes later that now has the attention of Aurora's highest-ranking officer.
Stop.
As more police arrive and tackle the first suspect, what one officer says has raised serious questions about the use of controversial drugs in high-tension situations.
Can we get this guy like some Versed or something and get him to calm down?
That's an APD officer urging Aurora Fire to inject a suspect with a powerful drug to calm him down. The officer then turns directly to paramedics to ask again.
Can we get like Versed and calm this dude down, or Haldol or something? Let's give him some juice to go to sleep.
And that juice ends up being ketamine.
You ain't going to sleep. And then we can deal with him.
A medical decision and drug police aren't supposed to encourage paramedics to use. But within 7 seconds of the officer asking for sedatives, an Aurora Fire paramedic walks up.
Yeah, you guys?
He's been tased already.
Dude, stop.
Not long after, police restrain him. And despite the suspect's pleas against it,
No, you're not hitting me with nothing. I said no.
the same paramedic injects the suspect with 450 milligrams of ketamine.
450 in.
A fast-acting anesthetic that quickly knocks him out. Ketamine is basically a rapid tranquilizer.
All of your vital signs look great.
The drug is regularly used in hospitals. Paramedics are increasingly using it to help police arrest suspects they feel are out of control. Case in point, what happened in the newly released police video we've been showing you.
If we get him some meds, they'll probably, we'll get him some calm down.
Again, our thanks to KMGH. Great work they're doing out there. So what should the policy be here? Mark Harold, ketamine?
Well, the policy, if they really want to put this, and basically what they'd be doing is putting it in their ladder of escalating force as a way to subdue people. You know, there are times police officers themselves will use something like naloxone for opioid overdoses. There's certainly times when law enforcement draw blood, usually at a hospital for, say, DUI. This, to me, though, the challenge here to write a policy that would govern this activity, where there'd be communications between law enforcement and what should be independent medical decision to administer this by the EMTs. I really think this is a slippery slope, very hard. In this particular case, when the paramedics got there, they actually said, "Is he fighting you?" And basically it was said, well, he was. Well, I don't think if he was actively fighting, the paramedics would have had to ask that. So in this particular case, it didn't seem to be overly necessary. I don't want to Monday morning quarterback. I wasn't there for the whole encounter, but I see some real problems with sort of this, an approach where the EMTs come and they just basically say, yeah, give this guy something because he was fighting us. Maybe they called him because they gave him the taser. I don't know. But I see some real problems here in the way this is administered if there's not a lot of training and a very tight policy.
Sergeant Dorsey, how do you see this one, the use of ketamine and this relationship between police and EMTs?
So let me Monday night quarterback, because I just saw something over the weekend on an animal show. You know where else ketamine is used? In veterinary offices. There was an 8-foot, 300-pound Komodo dragon who was anesthetized with ketamine because it was about to awaken as they were being as it was being transported. And so we know that officers are abusing their authority and overstepping their bounds. They're not medical professionals. In the case of Elijah McClain, a 5'6", 140-pound black man, he was given 500 milligrams of ketamine. This guy looked a lot bigger than 5'6", 140. He was given 450. And these officers don't know the medical history. In the case of Elijah McClain, they overestimated his weight by 100 pounds, thought he weighed 240, and then demanded that paramedics inject. Now, I know because I've read that there are 90 fire departments in Denver, in Aurora, Colorado, who allow this foolishness. And in 2017, there was a report by the Tribune-Star in Colorado that said that this is something that should be looked at and should not be allowed. Medical professionals are questioning whether or not this should be used, and officers get away with it by using the term excited delirium, and therefore they are encouraging and enforcing paramedics to use this. I'm outraged by it. As a mother, I'm outraged. As an officer, as a supervisor, this should not be allowed. It should be stopped immediately.
All right, we've got more crime time straight ahead, plus this. 4 years ago, Ross Harris was convicted of murdering his son Cooper by purposely leaving him in a hot car. Now, he's fighting for a new trial. Tonight, we preview next week's hearing, which you will see right here on Court TV. And it's Judgment Day for convicted killer Brandon Bernard as he faces execution for setting a car on fire with a live woman locked in the trunk. Plus, the 13th Juror Speaks. Tonight, we take a look at your reaction on social media. Welcome back to our Crime Time segment. Our next story comes from WLEX in Lexington, a search for a missing woman.
Catherine Holbrook knows her sister Jill Clayton well enough to know she wouldn't just fall off the grid for days or even hours at a time.
She is always in contact with people. She's always with her phone. She wants to be home. So we knew from the get-go that something really bad had happened.
Jill hasn't been seen or heard from since Thanksgiving morning. She shared this home with her boyfriend, Gary Jeffries. Catherine said their relationship was rocky at best.
They definitely had a volatile relationship. They had been overheard arguing by neighbors before. That's why it didn't immediately raise alarm bells.
When Jill never showed for Thanksgiving dinner, Gary told Catherine it was because she wasn't feeling well. Days later, the family came here and found Jill's phone, keys, and the food she had been preparing for Thanksgiving, but no sign of Jill. And that was 12 days ago. Round County Sheriff's Office says there are signs of foul play and that Jeffries, who has since been arrested in Louisville on unrelated charges, is a person of interest in this case and has already been questioned, but has not offered much about Miss Clayton's disappearance. Miss Holbrook is just hoping someone somewhere knows anything.
If anybody saw him anywhere from Moorhead to Louisville, maybe stopped off at a gas station or anything like that, we need to know.
The family is worried the longer they wait, the less likely it'll become that they'll get any answers.
All right, so how would you tackle this case? Mark Harold, Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey still with us. Sergeant Dorsey, how do you tackle this one?
Well, since the boyfriend is being uncooperative and is currently in custody on another unrelated matter, I would say start with him, apply a little pressure, and see if you can't get him to give more information. Clearly, this investigation is in the infancy stages, and there's so much more to glean. Perhaps video cameras within the neighborhood where they live. His cell phone may glean some information, and friends of both of theirs would be a good place to start.
Mark Harold, where would you go?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It sounds like there might have been some misdirect where he said she was not feeling well. Doesn't seem like something she would not convey to her family directly if she wasn't going to show up for Thanksgiving dinner. If she doesn't have her phone with her, that digital footprint might not do much. I think you do start with him, just like Sergeant said. You apply pressure, you go in, whatever leverage you have on the charges, you question him to try to get the information that you can. And also, I'd be looking at the digital footprint he has. If he had his phone with her, even though he left hers behind, and he's presumed innocent by the way I'm approaching this. If he left hers behind, but he had his phone, there might be some cell site location information. And also, just like was said, you look at the routes that he may have taken. If he was going to do something, some type of foul play, and you see if there's any videotape or any other way to track his movements on those probably first couple days and go from there. I hate that 12 days has passed on the initial, probably getting law enforcement involved, but it's not bad that he's in custody to see if you can get some information to, to try to find her or to proceed with the case and get justice for the family.
We'll continue to track that one. Final story tonight from KMGH in Denver. The wrong person gets evicted.
Chantel Jacobs was sleeping when she heard a pounding on her door. It was the Adams County Sheriff's Office.
So I kind of cracked the door, and he kind of like budges his way.
At this point, Jacobs says she had no idea why they were there with their guns drawn.
Hey, like, I'm scared. Like, can you tell me what's happening? And he finally tells me, and he's like he's being rude about it. He's like, this is an eviction. Do you know what an eviction is? It's an eviction.
Jacobs described one of the deputies as hostile.
I tried to pick up my phone because I was scared. I tried to call my mom. He kind of slapped the phone out of my hand. He was like, if you make a call, you're not grabbing anything. I'm just going to throw you out.
Problem is, deputies entered the wrong unit at the Tuscan Heights Apartments. Adams County Sheriff's Office tells Denver 7 management at the apartment complex gave them the key to the wrong apartment, and when they realized, they put the couple's belongings back. Also saying nothing was stolen or damaged, but Jacobs and her girlfriend Lisbeth Escarcega say there was damage, including to their iPad.
Black bag in the kitchen with broken plates, there's ranch and stuff all over shoes, our remotes, our iPad was in there shattered.
And they say the rest of their stuff ended up on the lawn.
Honestly, it was traumatic. I've never been through something like that. And then it's embarrassing too.
The two women finally were allowed to see the court order, which not only shows the address for the apartment building next door, but it also shows a man's name. Jacob's mother took this video of the family that order was meant for. They were evicted later in the day.
I just want them to make sure they check the addresses, make sure they ask names, make sure that they just don't go in there and unrightfully take somebody's stuff out.
Adams County Sheriff's Office says they are internally looking into the matter to make sure a similar situation doesn't happen in the future.
All right, whose fault is this and what should happen? Mark Harold.
You know, earlier I said I don't like the Monday morning quarterback, and a lot of times that's because there's an encounter. I may not know all the facts. It's happening fast, whatever the case may be. I have no tolerance for this. Whether it's a criminal arrest or search warrant, or whether it's a judicial process for an eviction, the chief thing that our Fourth Amendment and our constitutional rights in this area are meant to combat is this general warrant idea. That's why we have a particularity requirement. Who's at fault here? Whoever's enforcing this. There's no excuse. Nothing's happening fast here. They should get it right. They should have looked at the address. They should have double-checked it. If these people are saying that's not us, that's not our name. It's also not clear to me in this situation where it's not an arrest warrant, some high-impact warrant where they have to get right in, why they couldn't have immediately shown these people that warrant or that judicial order, and they would have said, well, that's not us. This was completely avoidable.
Very avoidable. We're running out of time, Mark. I just want to give Sergeant Dorsey 10 seconds.
I'm mad about this one, but go ahead. Sorry, Sarge.
10 seconds.
No worries. Yeah, I agree. Ditto, same thing. Sloppy police work, administrative investigation. I hope they're dealt with appropriately in that process.
All right, sorry we ran out of time.